I want to welcome everyone to today's webinar, Dragon Medical, Why So Many Providers Are Moving to Voice Recognition. My name's Ray Kuhl. I'm president of PBSI. I'll be leading today's discussion, and we're going to move quickly. We will be finished in 1/2 hour or less. Our goal today will be to look at some of the features, the really important features in Dragon that many people fail to take advantage of. Everyone underutilizes software. I don't care if it's Excel or Word, it's me, it's you, it's all of us. And we know this. We don't use the software we're using completely. But if you have a fantastic software product like Dragon and you're missing some of the key things that could really help with productivity, it's something we can help with. So many of you who are attending today already use one version of Dragon or another, or have used an old version, and you're going to see major changes if it's been a while since you've seen Dragon. Some of you, this will be your first exposure to Dragon Medical, and you'll see why several 100,000 physicians in the United States use Dragon Medical. So we're going to look at features and settings, and then training, what really works. How do we make sure that everyone who uses Dragon uses it effectively? So a quick comment here. Dragon Medical is manufactured by a company called Nuance. They're a public company. They own Dictation and some other companies. They are the single dominant market leader in voice recognition, not just in medical, but their products are used under the surface by Google and Apple. And so the technology under Dragon Medical is very, very singularly useful. So PBSI specializes in IT services in a variety of ways for healthcare organizations. We have hundreds of clients in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, and we are by far and away the largest reseller and implementer of Dragon Medical. No matter what EHR you have, we help with on-site training or web training or on-site support or phone support. We really know Dragon well, and hundreds of clients later, I can say it's the single best technology product I've ever seen. And now you're going to see why. So we're going to step right into a demonstration of Dragon Medical. My first comment here before I demonstrate software, I want to note on the right-hand side of my screen, and if you haven't maximized your window seeing my screen, you might want to do that because some of the text will appear pretty small if you don't. So this on the right-hand side is a power mic. This is the microphone that Nuance recommends. We recommend 90-something% of our clients use a power mic. Why? It's an effective microphone, but there are lots of effective microphones. But the button's on a power mic where you can hold it in your left hand or your right hand and have your other hand free to look at something in your EHR. On this microphone, the key buttons, we don't use a lot of these buttons, but there's an on-off button, so I'll tell Dragon to start listening to me or stop listening to me with a button. And I'll tell Dragon to go to next field or previous field or tab forward or tab back. You'll see there aren't many buttons, but they're really, really useful. And you'll see, I hope, how I do this. So now I'm going to go back and forth between demonstrating Dragon and the use of PowerPoint. So I'm going to demonstrate Dragon today inside of PBSI's EHR. So I could be inside of Epic or Varian or Meditech or NextGen or Greenway, whatever software you're using, you're going at some point in time inside of your encounter, you're going to want to dictate. So basically, Dragon will place text wherever your cursor is in any Windows-based software. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up my microphone in my left hand. I'm going to push the on button. In the lower right-hand side of my screen, this very small red icon, that's actually a picture of a microphone turned on its side. When I press my on button, that will turn green and Dragon will start listening, and here's how it works. Patient is a 57-year-old male who presents for hernia evaluation, period, new paragraph. Patient's BP is 210/180, and I'm really concerned about medication dosage, particularly the highs are oral, period, new paragraph. Select medication dosages. Medication dosage, particularly the, select reticular the, scratch that. Okay, so you can see that I stumbled on my words and Dragon caught something different than what I said, so I used the select command to change that. So you see it gets text very well. In fact, that's a rare case where it doesn't get what I say even when I stumble. Well, so I'm going to do something else now. Normal exam. Select cleared auscultation bilaterally. Lungs produced unusual symptoms and we need to schedule a pulmonary consult, period. Go to bottom. New paragraph. Okay, so what I just did is I used a template, and the template happened to be this set of text. So I gave it a name, and when I said the name normal exam, it knew that to be, in my case, this set of text. And then I used the select command to go find a certain set of text, and when I said select and named the text, then it selected that text, and whatever I spoke replaced the text. So you'll see how this works over and over. So the first thing is we want to make sure you know how to use templates, and we want to make sure you know how to use the select command. Those are the two pretty much basic building blocks of Dragon. And so I'm going to list, templates, the select command. So what are some things that happen with the select command? We find some people have a frustrating experience with the select command until they learn how to use it. So it works beautifully if you do a couple of key things. One is try and select a phrase, not a word. So I didn't try and select a single word when I said select. I chose 2 or 3 words together, and then your select command will work. And then the timing, decide what you want to select before you select it. So let me give you an example. So let's say I wanted to select bilateral normal extremities. My cursor's down here, and I'm going to do this poorly, and you'll see what happens. Select bilateral lower extremities. So what just happened is I used the select, I said the word select, but I waited too long, and so it said, that's not a command. So the timing, if I decide I know what I'm going to select, and so I'm going to say this more like a sentence, I'll do that now. Select bilateral lower extremities. Bilateral upper extremities. So the select command works beautifully. You just simply need to know, decide what you're going to select, then say select in that phrase. So really, really helpful. This can turn from a frustrating thing, the select command, to a really, really useful. You can fix anything in a heartbeat. Okay, another really key thing that several people don't know how to do is make your own shortcuts. So if you're experienced in the past having a transcriptionist, most people have some kind of a routine between yourself and the transcriptionist where you use the name of a template and what you're saying, and the transcriptionist pulls the templates in. And then when you want a new template, you describe how to do it, they create the thing. Well, now I'm going to say you can create your own templates, and if you learn how to do this, you'll save yourself a ton of time, because what happens is you dictate something and you say to yourself, yep, I've said that same set of text a bunch of times. I wish I could just save that and save it right now. So let me just do a really dumb example. Patient is a 57-year-old male today here for hernia evaluation period, new paragraph. Okay, so let's say I wanted to make a template out of this, and what I want to do though is create a fill in the blank, and a fill in the blank, and a fill in the blank. So all I'm really doing here with these brackets is I'm making fill in the blank. So any text that you want to be stop and ask me for some information, you can create fields. That's what I've just done. Very simply, those brackets, they're fields. Now I'm going to highlight this text, and it might be an entire additional set of information, like I might say, new line, all symptoms seemed to be non-present today, period. Okay, if you'll forgive my ridiculous clinical text, I've just said this set of stuff, and I say, I want to make that a template. So I'm going to use this command called make that a shortcut. There are not a ton of commands that you'll learn. You'll learn select, you'll learn go to bottom, go to top, and you'll learn make that a shortcut. So I'm going to turn my microphone on. You'll see how this works. Make that a shortcut. Sample template. Click Save. So I just used the click command to cause it to click a button. So I could say click update, click close, click encounter, anything on your screen that looks like a button. So the click command is something different. I just threw that in. So what I've done now is I've created a template, and my template was called sample template. So I'm going to do a couple things here. I saw the patient today with a sample template, and everything seemed normal. New paragraph. So what I wanted to demonstrate there is the words sample template used in a sentence are simply words. Now I'm going to do something different. Sample template. Now Dragon knows that what I spoke was actually a template. So you see how the words, when spoken just by themselves, whatever you called that template, you call it up. Now the cursor right now is placed itself in one of the variables, and I'm going to turn my microphone on, and I'm going to begin using a next field button. 26, female, lower back pain. Go to bottom. The exam today was unusual in all respects, but I'm going to release the patient, period. So again, ridiculous text, but you can see how this works. So then I can use additional templates, and I'm going to go back now, and we're going to get into some other features. Next field defaults. How does this work? Next field defaults. So you saw how I set defaults. I'm going to use a template now that has defaults. So here we go with the template. Normal GI. So what you see on the screen here now is that I have brackets, but there is something filled in. Those are defaults. So now I can press the button next, next, next on my microphone until I come to a place where I want to replace this text. Now I'm going to speak something different. Lungs produced unusual symptoms, period. Accept defaults. So when I said accept defaults, you notice all the brackets went away. So I had my normal exam and things that were defaulted inside of brackets. I skipped to the one that I wanted to fix. I fixed it with my voice. I said accept defaults, and I now have an example of a template that I used. Then instead of the one I used up here where there were no templates, basically I just changed manually, if you will, with my voice, the things I wanted to change. Here I used variable names. So you know examples when you're dictating where each of these might be appropriate. So deciding how the way you set your templates up, really key. So having a trainer who can help you do this, really, really helpful. Okay, now you've stored some templates. What the heck did you call those templates? How do you remember template names? So I'm going to come back here to Dragon, and I'm going to get rid of some of the text that we've spoken here today so we have some more room. And let me see, I can't remember what my template name is going to be, so I'm going to use Dragon Sidebar, and here's the command. Open Dragon Sidebar. And so you see on the right-hand side of my screen, I've displayed the names that I've set up as templates. So my thank you, my signature, irrigation procedure, left tibia repair, whatever. So, okay, I see that's what I wanted to use, and I'll use that template name now, left tibia repair. And so there I called in the template, it set the text, and so forth. I'll do another one. New paragraph, nerve block. And so forth. And you can see that I could fix this and fill that blank in and so forth. So this is how this works. You set the templates with various stopping points or not, and you don't have to remember the templates you've named. So the template that we created earlier, sample template, is going to be down here in alphabetic order. There's the one we created just a moment ago, sample template. So I could have used that template again. So you always have access to all the commands and all of the template names that are out there. And I hadn't turned my microphone off, so Dragon was trying to listen to me. All right, so now let's talk about another feature. So storing repetitive formatting, I won't demonstrate that, but you can imagine you have a SOAP note template where you want the subjective objective assessment plan to be bolded, underlined, and so forth. Store those formats in your template. So when you call up the SOAP template, you don't have to always say underline that, bold that, cap that, and so forth, which you can do, but why do it repetitively? Store your formatting in your template. Okay, another feature here that's really interesting, and any of you who have Dragon Medical today, if it's within the last couple of versions and you're not aware of this feature, when this webinar ends, go try this yourself. It's fantastic. It allows you to do internet searches for things while in the middle of whatever you're doing. So I'm in the middle of using my EHR. Here I am, I'm dictating along, and I have a question. So now I'm going to tell Dragon to search WebMD for a condition name. I'm going to do that now. Search WebMD for encephalitis. And what it did is it went out, it found my default browser. It knows that Internet Explorer is my default browser. It might have been Chrome, might have been whatever. You don't have to tell Dragon that. It just knows, it finds it on your PC, so whatever your set it uses. And I said search WebMD, so it found the website WebMD, and I said for encephalitis, and it keyed that in. So I could have said search up to date for insomnia, or search Google for family practice ICD-10 codes. In other words, the formula is search website name for whatever you want to key in. Works beautifully, and then you can be on the website and start drilling in yourself. So it allows you, while being in the middle of your clinical exam, to go to the web and display information for your patient potentially, or do research where you can copy and paste things into something you're doing on your screen. So search command, very useful. Try it yourself. Okay, Dragon dictation box. This is something that's really useful, and if some of you have performance issues where you're using Citrix or terminal services, you have remote locations, and you find your Dragon to be slow when not working directly in main office, the dictation box, and in combination a feature called hidden mode, can really be helpful. We don't always use these things, but they work very, very well. So I'm going to get rid of some of this text. So let's say that I'm doing dictation. Patient's BP is 210/160, period. Medications include Lipitor and Ritalin, period. New paragraph. And I'm trying to remember, let me see, I want to speak what the lab results were, but I need to go click somewhere else. So instead of stopping my dictation, going somewhere else, I can press this button on my microphone that opens up this dictation box. So now if I'm dictating in the dictation box, patient's lab results today were, and before I do anything else, I can go to the place in my EHR where I can see the lab results for this patient, and I can say, here were the lab results, and I can actually just keep dictating. Cholesterol was 60, triglycerides were 150, comma, cholesterol total was 70. New paragraph. Then the patient described extreme pain to me. And again, I'm going to say, let me go somewhere else in my EHR, blah, blah, blah. And whenever I'm done, whatever I've been dictating has been accumulating. So I go to the place where I want to plop this text in, and I simply press a button or say transfer text, and whatever I've been dictating over the last 5 minutes as I've been looking around in the patient's chart all come together. So it avoids you having to go from field to field to field to field. Really, really useful. Once you learn to use this, you'll find it to be extremely valuable. And one thing about that dictation box, if you were experiencing speed problems where, let's say, your Dragon Medical doesn't work nearly as fast as what you're seeing from me, try it in the dictation box, and almost certainly it will work at lickety-split speed because it's not subject to the communication speed between you and wherever your server is located. So dictation box and hidden mode is another term for that. Proper name spelling. I won't demonstrate this, but one of the things that we can do, and frequently we do for a new client, is Dragon, you think Dragon needs some training, that it works really well for Ray because Ray's been using it for a long time. No, that's really not the case. It worked as well for me out of the box first time. Now, I've learned a lot of things about Dragon, but in terms of recognizing my voice, yes, it learns, but it's hardly gotten better because it was so good out of the box. Where it is not good out of the box is in spelling Barack Obama or similar names. It'll get John Smith almost every time. Simple names like that. Sarah Jones, sure, it'll get that. Christ Hospital, yes. But try some more complex names, and it's not likely going to get those well. So what you do then is you can fix it with your spelling. Spell that. You can spell it. In potentially a few seconds to 10, 15 seconds, you can change the spelling and tell it to save, and it learns that, so fine. But if you're doing this repeatedly, early on, your first month or two of Dragon, where you're repetitively stopping to tell it how to spell proper names or facility names, you can bypass that entirely. How do we do that? We simply take a text file of your referring doctor file, your facility file, whatever, and we load it into your Dragon voice profile, and voila, Dragon starts spelling those names out of the box. So a little bit of work on our part up front can avoid a lot of frustration and time up front. early use of Dragon is not a frustrating experience. I want to tell you that client after client after client, we install Dragon, and almost never do we get feedback where it's not recognizing me very well. The feedback is, what's that command again? Or I forgot how to do this, or my select command isn't working, quote, working because I've forgotten how to use it timing-wise correctly. So anyway, you can avoid even those frustrations by getting your proper names in up front. Network voice profile. Okay, another really interesting thing. And again, I won't demonstrate this, but hear me, if you're using Dragon on more than one workstation, you should be using a network voice profile. So what happens is you have a voice profile that's stored on your C drive. That's the default. When you use Dragon, you install it on one PC. It knows your voice. It learns as you teach it additional things. And so now you want to use it on a different PC. If you've got PCs in multiple exam rooms, or you use it at home, you use it on your laptop, you use it on your desk PC, you can share one voice profile. And it's very simple. There's no extra cost, just a little bit of knowledge to do. It's not expensive to set up. So we find out when we first set up Dragon for you how we're going to use this. We set up a network voice profile. So we need help from your IT folks to give us a secure place on your network where we can store your voice profile. But then wherever you log in, it prompts you, you have a network voice profile. Load it from that location. So now you don't have to train your voice multiple times, and whatever it learns about your voice when you're working on one PC is inherited when you work on the other. Another really cool thing about network voice profile, it also stores your most recent profile on your C drive. It doesn't use it until you take your laptop home. Well, at home, you're not connected to your network. So you try and connect into your network. It looks for your network voice profile. It says, can't find it. Do you want to use the one on the C drive? Yes, you do. It uses it. It learns something. It stores it. When you go back to the office the next day, you connect into your network. It looks for which is the most current. And if you've done some updates to your voice profile while at home, you've now caused your network voice profile to be updated with that. So it's a really, really useful feature and avoids you redoing your voice profile multiple times. Okay, another thing, and I'm almost done here. What does Dragon do with poor speech pattern? It used to be that Dragon didn't like poor speech pattern. Well, now I'm going to say some things that I'm going to really try and screw up. And the patient was here today with detached retina, and the back pain was really bad, and the patient was really hurting, and the way the patient described this to me was pain on a scale of 1 to 10 was a 6, period. Okay, so let's look at what it got. And here's one case where I screwed up just a little too much, and it got an extra word. So you see, everything else, as much as I butchered that text, it got it perfectly. It's an amazing thing. It used to be you had to be very, very clear about not extending your sentences with and so forth, but now it works beautifully. So really useful. Timing tip. One other thing that we find sometimes frustrating, and this happens to me at times still, where the timing tip is, if you hear somebody say, Dragon doesn't listen to me early on, sometimes it screws up at the beginning. Well, what happens is I start speaking and my mouth is faster than my button finger, so I start speaking a hair second before I turn the microphone on, and sure enough, it butchers the first word. So if I just remember to push my microphone button and wait just a split second and then start speaking, it'll work perfectly with every time. So timing tip. Okay, so those are some of the key things. We're going to move on now, and just quickly, the power mic. We talked about the power mic. Interestingly, one of the most interesting things to me, the power mic comes out of the box where this button that I use for turn it on, turn it off is set to push and hold it to talk and release it to not talk. To me, my thumb would get tired. I much prefer just pushing it to turn it on, pushing it to turn it off. So it takes us 6 seconds. All we have to do is find out how do you want that set. The tabs are set for next tab, previous tab, but interestingly, the buttons are not set out of the box for next field, previous field. Very useful. The button is set for open your dictation box, but the button isn't set for transfer text. And that's the sum total of the buttons I ever use. But we set 3 or 4 of those, and there's some other settings that we can really help by setting your power mic correctly. Next field and previous field. If you're using Dragon remotely, we can set some settings there to help performance. We talked about the dictation box. Another thing that I'll just mention is you can use your iPhone or your Android or your iPad as a microphone, not as a speak and dictate on your iPad and have the text there, which you can do that also. There's a free app for that on the App Store, but there's a free app that you need Dragon Medical in order to use where you turn your Android or your iPhone into a microphone. And literally, if you're using not a PC, but a thin client terminal in your exam room that's not really a PC, you can actually use your iPhone as your microphone. It works really well. So instead of using a USB microphone, it's wirelessly connected. Anyway, these are really useful things, but okay, I'm the president of a tech company. I couldn't figure out how to set this up. Well, one of our techs set it up in 30 seconds for me, but because of how it's wirelessly connected, not Bluetooth connected, blah, blah, blah. Great feature. It just requires a little bit of expertise to make it work. And then one other thing, you saw me use the click command. There's a setting actually to say require the click command. So if I said click show my screen or click transfer text or click something on my screen, click slideshow, click review, it would find any of those things, but I only use it because I have it set to recognize the click command. So you can navigate, you can say click tab key, click, and so forth. So just little things. All right, in our last remaining moments, what really makes a difference? Why is it that some people use Dragon and they think, what's the big deal? I just, you know, everybody raves about this, but it's not working that well for me. What we find really works is one-on-one, on-site, over-the-shoulder training, a trainer and a physician, one-on-one. An hour-long training session is plenty. We recommend 2 of these training sessions spaced a week or 2 apart. One session, historically we've found, our trainer thinks the session went great, the doctor thinks the session went great, first training session. 2 weeks later, doctor may not be using it effectively and he's frustrated with it and what's going on? Well, there was no commitment to trying it. And basically it's an accountability thing. So after the first training session, we agree trainer's going to be here again on 2 weeks from Tuesday at this time. And the commitment you make is you're going to use it at least a half hour a day or at least 3 patients a day. Build it into your routine. And then when the trainer shows up for that second session, you're really working on just the things that have come up as questions. And there's phone support in between times. So 2 sessions on site really works. We have hundreds of physician clients who just love Dragon. Get training from somebody who really can help you. Makes a big difference. Okay, so how much does Dragon cost? So some of you already know this. Without the power mic, $1,599. With the power mic, which is what virtually everybody buys, $1,899. We discount for webinar attendees $100 a copy for anybody in your practice. And then training sessions, depending on how far you are away from us, $200 a session would be an average. And then some other services. So say for a speaker, you're going to spend $2,400. You're going to spend between $2,000 and $2,500 per speaker. So the way I look at that, and then in the next 5 years, they're going to come out with an upgrade. You're going to spend, there are no monthly fees, but you're going to spend some money on an upgrade, $500 once every few years. So you will have spent over 5 years $3,000. So that sounds like a lot of money, but divide $3,000 by 60. It's just like buying a PC, use it for 5 years. You have net spent $50 a month, $3,000 divided by 60 months. Cost effectiveness, $50 a month to really improve productivity, to reduce typing. And one of the most beneficial features is the dictation is done when it's done. You finish your progress note, you lock it, you're done. So very cost effective compared to transcription costs. There's just no comparison. So that's content today. I want to thank you for your attendance. I'm going to stay on the line to wait for questions, but I want you to know that your attendance is appreciated. Hope this has been of great value for you. Feel free to ask questions now. I'll stay on the line. If you have a commitment, you're welcome to log off. We're finished with content, and I will make sure that all questions that are asked get email replied to all attendees. So thank you for your attendance today. We're finished.